Next, we proceed our discussions with common sentence problems. There are several common sentence problems, including fragments, run-on sentences, comma splices, misplaced modifiers, and dangling modifiers. We will discuss this one by one in the following lecture. First, let us look at the fragments. You know that a complete sentence have the following three components: a subject, a verb, and a complete thought. The subject is the actor in the sentence. The verb represents the actions within the sentence, and the complete thoughts represent the informations and message as given by the sentence. The sentence should be standalone and it should make sense. And if any of these three components is missing, it is considered as fragment. Let us look at the example. For example, the types of applications range from games to office suites, enabling the owner to perform a wide array of tasks. The first sentence is okay, but the second sentence is a fragment. The sentence is not complete, as it is missing of the subject, the actor in the sentence. To correct this sentence, you can use either of these sentences. First, the type of applications range from games to office suites. These applications enable the owner to perform a wide array of tasks. What you are doing here is constructing a complete sentence for the second sentence, which is by incorporating the subjects, which is the actor in the sentence. Now that your second sentence here is complete, therefore it is no longer a fragment. Or you can write the sentence in this manner. The types of applications range from games to office suites, enabling the owner to perform a wide array of tasks. This is a combined sentence. Although the second half of the sentence here is without the subject, but looking at the structures of the sentence, we know that the subject it will be the applications that range from the games to office suites. Let us look at the second example here. The university wants to introduce more online courses, although a number of faculties are skeptical. The second sentence here is a fragment. It is not a stand-alone sentence, and it is lacking of a complete thought. To rectify this, the sentence can be written as: the university wants to introduce more online courses, although a number of faculties are skeptical. When the entire sentence is combined, there is a complete thought, and you know that this sentence now is standalone, and the information given, the thoughts make sense. Next, let us look at the run-on sentences. It is basically referring to the sentences made up of two or more complete sentences jammed together without any punctuations and without any conjunction. Taking this as an example, glaciers are melting so fast, scientists are concerned about rising sea levels. If you read this sentence here, it seems awkward. It is as if there are two sentences, which is supposed to be made into two sentences, separate. However, if you still want to join them together, there should be some proper punctuations or conjunctions. In order to correct this sentence, glaciers are melting so fast that scientists are concerned about rising sea level. Now with the conjunctions that within the sentence, one of the sentence will become the independent clause, while another will be the dependence clause. What is the differences between the independence clause and the dependence clause? The independent clause is a group of words that contains subject and verb. In this sentence here, glacier is the subject, melting is the verb. And the independence clause makes sense on its own as a sentence. Taking this entire sentence here without considering the following sentence, the sentence is actually stand alone. It makes sense on its own. In this case, scientists are concerned about the rising sea level. It is considered as the dependent clause. The dependent clause is also a group of words containing the subject and verb. The subject is scientists. The verb is concerned. Only that if you remove the first half of the sentence, that scientists are concerned about rising sea level, this sentence is obviously cannot stand alone. It doesn't make sense until adequate information is provided. Therefore, if you would like to combine two sentences together, you will need to know which sentence to be the independent clause and which going to be dependent clause, where the independent clause can be merged with the dependence clause to form a complete sentence. With that, the correct sentence it will be, glaciers are melting so fast that scientists are concerned about rising sea level. This is a typical run-on sentences. Next, we will look into the comma splice, where two sentences are joined by a comma without an intervening coordinating conjunctions, such as and, or, no, but, yet. Let us look at the example here. Books generally do not have the most up-to-date information, comma. It is a good idea then to look for articles in specialized journals. What you see here is, this is supposed to be two sentences. The first half is a complete sentence, and the second half is also a complete sentences. It will be quite awkward if you combine two sentences here without any conjunction. Might as well you split them into two sentences. In order to rectify this, you have three ways to write it. First, books generally do not have the most updated informations, full stop. It is good idea then to look for articles in specialized journals. When you put a full stop here, you are separating the two sentences into two. The first one, it will be a complete sentence, and the second one will be another complete sentence. Or you can use semicolons to do that. Books generally do not have the most up-to-date information. It is a good idea then to look for articles in specialized journals. The semicolon here is used to connect the independent and dependent clause. It is used to join two independent sentences to show a close relationship between the two sentences. It indicates that the second sentence here is very closely related to the topic that you're going to discuss as an extension to the first sentence. Or you can write it with the conjunction as. As books generally do not have the most updated informations, it is a good idea then to look for articles in specialized journals. With the conjunctions here, now the entire sentence makes sense. There is a cause and effect relationship giving you the reasons to the second half of the sentence. Next, we look at the misplaced modifiers. It is basically referring to the wrong words or phrase in a sentence, and because of placing it at the wrong positions, this may lead to the confusions. Sometimes it can totally alter the meaning of that particular sentence. The examples of the modifier include only, almost, nearly, just, hardly, even. Let us look at the example here. The defective equipment was returned to the company which manufactured it by courier. The word by courier here is a misplaced modifier. Because it is put at these positions, it is often mistaken as it is referring to the manufactured. But logical thinking, manufacture it by courier, it doesn't make sense. How can we manufacture something by courier? Therefore, the only logical explanation is it is returned by courier. And in this case, when you want to explain it is returned by courier, the term by courier shouldn't be here. It should be placed immediately after the return. Not to confuse the reader, it is actually manufactured by courier. With that, the corrections it will be the defective equipment was returned by courier to the company which manufactured it. You will need to place the modifiers next to the word that they modify. Let us look at the example here, where different positions of the modifier can alter the meanings of the sentence. For example, only this study investigates the fluctuations of wind power. This study only investigates the fluctuations of wind power. This study investigates only the fluctuations of wind power. This study investigates the only fluctuations of wind power. What you see here, all four sentences here consist of the same group of words, only that the modifier is placed at different positions. If you look carefully, the meaning of each sentence is different. The first sentence, only this study investigates the fluctuations of wind power. That means there is only one investigation doing this study of the fluctuations of wind power. If you compare with the second sentence, stating the study only investigates the fluctuations of wind power. Now, this study is not the only study on the wind power. It is actually expressing that this study focusing on studying the wind power. The second and the third sentence seems to be quite close, also explaining that this study only studies the fluctuations of wind power. The similarity between the two sentences here is that the modifier is placed next to the word they modified, which they are modifying the investigates. If you look at the fourth sentence here, this study investigates the only fluctuations of wind power. It means that there is one and only fluctuations of wind power within the field of study, and this only is put here. It is modifying the fluctuations of wind power instead of modifying the investigate or modifying the study. With that, you see three different modifying methods. The first one is modifying the study. The second and third is modifying the investigations. And the fourth one is modifying the fluctuations of wind power. Due to different focus of modifiers, the meaning will be different. Although both sentence here is correct, in order to avoid ambiguity, normally we will place the limiting modifier in front of the words is modified. That means the second options, it will be the better one to avoid possible confusions to the reader. Next, we talk about the dangling modifiers. It means that the words that the writer intends to modify is unclear or missing. This normally occurs when writing is wordy and the passive voice is used inappropriately. Let us look at this example. After completing the project, the results were published. This kind of sentence seems to be quite common. Often we are not aware that it is a dangling modifiers. If you look at the structures of the result, after completing the project, that means someone is doing something, and this someone is often the actor in the sentence, which is the subject. And then after the comma, the result were published. The result is a noun, and it can be seen like a subject. At least it is the subject of this being published. But you know that there is another sentence in front, which is also requiring a subject. The result now is obviously not the subject of completing the project. It is not the actor of completing the project. Therefore, this sentence is technically wrong. Without the first half of the sentence is correct. But when you have the first half of the sentence, implying a subject is doing something, and then the result seems to be the subject of doing that something, which actually the result cannot do that. This is what it is known by the dangling modifiers. When you use the passive voice, there is improper definitions of the subjects. In order to correct this sentence, you can write in this manner. After completing the project, the researcher published the results. Now the researcher is the subject. The researcher completed the project and the researcher published the results. Both parts of the sentence are having the same subject. There is no contradictions between the first half and the second half of the sentence. Or you can write it in this manner. After the researcher published the result were published. In this case, you know that the researcher actually completed the project and the result were actually published. They are talking about two different things, which the first half and the second half of the sentence are standalone. They don't get mixed up and they don't have argument between who is the subjects.